What's happening, party people? So, a lot of people have been following my case. I've been in a custody battle now since early 2017. It is now 2020. The custody battle started in the state of Oregon and then ended up in the state of California, and now has been in Hawaii for the last 2 years. I have no real custody of my children whatsoever. I have no real human rights at all regarding my children. Some background for my case: I have no criminal record of any kind. I have no history of drug or alcohol abuse. I have threatened nobody. I have harmed nobody. I have threatened to harm nobody. And yet, for the past almost 4 years, I've had almost no access to my children. I've received several orders from several courts to promulgate visitation. However, most of those orders have been violated by the opposing party, the children's mother, Mrs. Jacqueline Garcia. That's Garcia. It's very interesting. It's bizarre that this can be the case, that somebody with no criminal record whatsoever of any kind, and no malfeasance, no provable malfeasance of any kind towards anyone, certainly not in the last 20 years, could be completely deprived of their parental rights. And yet, that is the society we have inherited from our parents due to no-fault divorce, so many other aspects of family court, child support, so many other aspects of family court, which is completely unconstitutional. No jury of your peers, no timely trial. The court system itself is unconstitutional and illegal, and yet you're subjected to it the moment that you disagree on a shared custody scheme with your ex. So that is the situation. I have seen the kids a couple of times recently here in Hawaii. For some reason, the opposing party is, for the first time in years, agreeing to some of the court orders. Now, I got very excited because suddenly the court orders were being adhered to, and yet today I was supposed to have a video chat with the kids, and I was not allowed to talk with my children via video chat. So the court orders are still being violated right now today, even though I did get to see them recently twice. A very short time that I got to see them. The court has ordered that I'm supposed to see them for 3 hours on a weekday and 6 hours on the weekend, and I am only allowed to see them for 1.5 hours on a weekday and 2 hours on the weekend. So once again, the court orders are continuously being violated, are still being violated right now today. The visitation orders are being violated. The video chat visitation orders are being violated. I have not received report cards for the children, and sometimes, so that's a violation. I have not received health records for the children, and sometimes, so that's a violation. These are all active violations of active court orders that are occurring right now. And bear in mind, once again, that I have broken no laws, that I have caused nobody harm, threatened harm, nothing. I mean, literally, I have almost as clean of a record as you can have. I do have some parking tickets. If you move to Waikiki from the mainland, you are likely to get some parking tickets. It's just a very difficult region of the world to live in and find parking. It's not quite San Francisco or downtown Manhattan, both of which I've been to and also attempted to secure parking at, but it's in that zone. It's difficult to find parking in downtown Waikiki. So seeing the kids has been good-ish, but it's very difficult. You're there with a supervisor, and by the way, we've had like 20 supervisors by now, so I don't actually the entire process of having supervised visits with your own children is very bizarre. It's you have to adhere to their rules, and their rules are arbitrary and in some cases capricious. And every supervisor has slightly different arbitrary and capricious rules. So at this point, I don't even know what the rules are. I don't remember the rules going from supervisor to supervisor, supervisor, supervisor. It's hard to remember what those differences are between them, why they're making those rules. I think some of the rules might make sense if somebody was, violent or dangerous, but that's certainly not the case. There's been no history of evidence of violence or danger whatsoever. In my case, none. I mean, I've been working with kids for 20 years and had no issue, none. other than like scheduling issues or something. I mean, like literally no issues whatsoever working with children for over 20 years. And I had no issues with my children at all. I was trying to raise them on an all organic heirloom farm. I was trying to teach them foreign languages and music and all these other things. And then I got divorced. I filed for divorce. That was a mistake. I should not have filed for divorce. If you are a father who is being cheated on by your wife, or in those kind of pre-divorce stages, do not file for divorce. The second you file for divorce, then you can be brought in front of the family court, both of which are completely anti-human rights, anti-basic moral or ethics of any kind, which is clear because you don't have a jury of your peer, you are not awarded a timely trial, and they don't default to 50-50 out of the gate. If they defaulted to 50-50 out of the gate for everybody, we wouldn't have 90% of the issues that we have. That's just how it should be, regardless of any of the prehistory. It should just default to 50-50, period. Now, once somebody has injured a child or harmed a child or threatened an ex or something like that, if some kind of malfeasance occurs afterwards, then maybe you can change it from 50 to 50-50. But initially, every family dissolution should result in 50-50 custody, period. And child support should be completely removed because child support incentivizes one of the parties to intentionally harm the children and the other party in order to make more money. There's an economic incentive to harm your ex and your own children. And how many millions of times have we seen primarily women engage in that in this country? Some men do it as well, but it's overwhelmingly women who do it to their own children and their ex-husbands. Yeah, so filing for divorce is a mistake. Don't file for divorce if you can help it. Before you actually file for divorce, there's some room for arbitration and you have some latitude to make some efforts. And also, I believe the saying is, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And believe me, if you are the man and you file for divorce, you will be very scorned. Very, very scorned. Maybe not in every case, but it's very likely that woman will be very scorned and take it out on you and the kids in the form of a lengthy custody battle and an egregious economic attack vis-a-vis the state, i.e. child support. So, which, is completely unethical and wrong on every level. It's like, especially in my situation where I'm like fighting actively. I've been actively fighting for 4 years, constantly emailing the opposing counsel, constantly filing paperwork at the courthouse, constantly calling supervisors, constantly calling psychologists, constantly taking like ridiculous classes I didn't need. I went to an anger management class in San Diego County where I was actually afraid of some of my classmates a little bit. I mean, maybe not physically because, I'm a pretty big dude, but I was literally like, some of these people had very short fuses and were a little bit scary to be in a room with. I did not enjoy the process. And here I am in anger management because my ex said that she felt unsafe. That's it. Like no evidence, no anything. She just said, oh, I feel unsafe. Therefore, he needs to take an anger management class. I took the anger management course. And that still wasn't good enough. Of course, you take the anger management course, and that doesn't mean suddenly that they're like, oh yeah, oh he took the course, now he can see his kids. No. It's like, oh, he took the course. Okay, well let's find some other hoops for him to jump through. Here in Hawaii, it's been almost 2 years now, very close to 2 years, and I've been going to court over and over and over and over again, and I still don't have any kind of reasonable custody. I'm supposed to see them 3 hours on a weekday and 6 hours on a weekend. And instead I'm seeing them 1.5 hours on a weekday and 2 hours on the weekend, for which I have to pay an exorbitant rate. The weekday visitation is $80-something per visit, and the weekend visit is probably going to be over $100. So, and then once we get the actual visitation that's in the court order, if we ever get it, I've been asking every single email. I'm asking the opposing counsel. I'm asking the supervised monitor. I'm asking every time. When do we get the actual visitation that has been ordered by the court? And crickets, silence every time. I'm not getting an answer. It's very clear that nobody is motivated to do the right thing for the kids here. Nobody's motivated. They're all motivated economically. The supervised monitor is getting paid. The opposing counsel is getting paid. the alienating parent assumes that at some point she's going to get paid, which is false. She will never get paid, ever. Ever. I've even made it so that if I die or get hit by a bus or something, there's no possibility she will get anything out of my estate. So that is false, a false assumption. And so the sooner that I think the opposing counsel realizes, or the opposing party realizes that that's a false assumption, maybe they'll just give up and let the kids have a relationship with their father, which is going to benefit everybody, including the opposing party. Because the opposing party, I've sent study after study that shows that parental alienation is a serious, serious form of abuse. And it's a form of abuse that leads dramatically to the children inevitably cutting ties with the parent who is doing the abuse. Unless the parent who is being alienated is in jail or on heroin or, some kind of convicted murderer or something serious, then the kids are going to resent having that parent not in their lives, period. That's just, I invite you to read studies on parental alienation yourself and look at the evidence. But overwhelmingly, parents who do that to their children the children end up finding out later, wow, this parent didn't let me see the other parent for like years and years and years. And the other parent, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not a heroin junkie. They're not a murderer. They're not, there's nothing really essentially dramatically wrong with them. My parent who was abusing me and them is a monster, which is accurate, certainly accurate. And I want nothing to do with them. And so they end up severing ties with the alienating parent 100%. That will happen in this case because I'm sober, I'm healthy, I have no criminal record of any kind, and I don't intend on changing any of those factors whatsoever. So Everett and Grace, when you watch this in the future, just know that I have not harmed anybody, I've not threatened to harm anybody, I've broken no laws, and your mother has still kept you from seeing me for 4 years. And I've sent email after email, Talking Parents app after Talking Parents app. Whatever. I've communicated every way that I can to say, hey, listen, let the children have a relationship with their father. For them. Yes, this is hurting me, but it's hurting the children much worse than it's hurting me. Please stop hurting our children. I've sent message after message after message for 4 years. And she has denied all contact. Denied almost all contact. For suddenly, she started following court orders just recently, which is very strange to me. I was actually flabbergasted when the court order was being adhered to for the first time ever. But then today, the court orders were violated again. So I guess I shouldn't be so surprised or flabbergasted by anything at this point. They must have had some motivation for actually letting me see the children at a park with a supervisor a couple of times. That's all that's happened so far. Keep in mind, they didn't let me see the kids for 8 months. And I had a court order that entire time that said I was supposed to see them twice a week. For 8 months, they violated that court order. For 8 months, they violated the court order twice a week. So let's do the math on that real quick. 8 times 4 is 32. So let's see. 8 times 4, there's 4 weeks. That's 32. 2 visits per week. I guess we should do that different. So 8 times, let me do the math really quick. I'm sorry, that math was much simpler than I was making it. Basically, at 2 visitations per week, and there's 4 weeks per month, that means there's 8 visitations per month for 8 months. 8 times 8 is 64. That's pretty easy. I don't know why for a second that took me a second. But anyway, so there's been 64 court order violations just in the last 8 months. 64 court order violations. That doesn't include the video chats that were violated. That doesn't include. So there's probably been 100 court order violations this year alone, 2020. And we're only in October. And there was another violation today. So, this is the system we have set up for children to grow up in without their father. My kids were living on an organic farm where we were growing heirloom vegetables and fruits and studying music and foreign languages and engineering and science and math and, being part of a homeschooling collective and doing ballet and all these like really positive super privileged things that my kids were involved in: hiking, swimming, fishing, eating fresh hunted meat, like literally there was nothing that could have been better for my kids when they were first being raised. And now they're being dragged from Navy base to Navy base eating McDonald's and Cheerios. Literally, they said, when I asked them, oh, what did you have to eat today on the visit before last? They said, we had Cheerios and chicken nuggets. These are kids that were eating their body weight in fresh blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, grapes, you name it. Organic, all organic, everything, 4 years ago. And now they're being dragged from military base to military base, being fed a diet full of neurotoxins. So, they are not going to reach their full potential now because they have been brain damaged by their diet. And, of course, I can't bring that up in court. People just look at you like you're crazy. Oh, Cheerios aren't brain damaging. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, Cheerios have horrendous chemicals in them that are, in fact, neurotoxins, that do lead to, in fact, some kind of cognitive decline. So, much less chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are God knows what. They come out of some meat processing plant. Chicken nuggets from McDonald's, especially if you dip them in the high fructose corn syrup sauce that they come with, have got to be one of the least healthy things you could feed anybody, especially a developing, growing child. And it shows. The kids both have false teeth now. Everett had extreme fluorosis on his teeth. Your teeth are an indication of your overall physical health. Archaeologists examine skeletal remains and examine teeth because you can tell, oh, was their diet good? Was their health good? You can tell all that by their teeth. My children's teeth are thrashed, completely thrashed. And that correlates exactly with what they're telling me when I see them. Yes, we're eating Cheerios and chicken nuggets, and I was like hyper focused on organic fruits and vegetables. Still am. When I get a visitation, I go and spend $50 at the grocery store on organic fruits and vegetables, trying to get them as many vitamins and minerals as I can when I see them for that limited, tiny little window when I do get to see them. Which for 8 months, I didn't get to see them, and that's when they got completely thrashed, have fake teeth. I have no record of any of their dental appointments, but it's very clear they've had many dental appointments because their teeth are thrashed. So it's super great to see the kids. I haven't seen them in 8 months. Seeing them finally in person has been, it's one of those things that it kills you. It's you get to see your kids for the first time in 8 months. It's like, it should be a beautiful thing, but it's also like, you're seeing all of that damage that they've been put through by the opposing party on their faces, in their hearts. You can see the pain they've been living through not having access to their father. You can see the pain they've been living through being dragged from military base to military base with Navy guy number 4. God knows what number we could be on at this point. I don't even know if Navy guy number 4 is still in the picture. I don't know what my children have been exposed to at all. I've had almost no access to them for 4 years. So I don't know what this Navy guy's like. I tried to talk to him at the courthouse. He was very scared of me, even though I was just trying to talk to him. I'm like, hey, you're living with my kids. I think, I should be able to talk to you, get to know you, have some kind of conversation. He was terrified. He was absolutely terrified of me, which is funny because I wasn't threatening him in any way. As far as him being together with my ex-wife, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier that somebody's with my ex-wife who's not me. I'm practically doing backflips over that. Yeah, he was very, very afraid of me, and I still have not had any kind of conversation or communication with him to this day. This is a man. I use the term man loosely in this case. Obviously, a real man isn't going to deny somebody access to their parent. Isn't going to deny children access to their children's father. So he's not, in fact, a real man, if you actually want to know the truth. And also the way he was absolutely terrified of me. And in the courthouse, we're in the courthouse. There's like cops everywhere. It's like, you're going to be terrified here? Like maybe I'm going to get 1 or 2 punches. If it came to a physical thing, maybe I'd get 1 or 2 punches before I get tased by like 12 cops. So like, really? I thought it was hilarious how terrified he was of me with like cops everywhere. I was like, if we can't have a conversation here, dude, Like, God only knows if I ran into him in the street. I mean, he would probably literally wet himself immediately. That's the impression that I got, having met him at the courthouse. So, very cowardly, despicable character. I'll say that, because that is all I know about him. I still have not had any communication with him whatsoever. He's still living with my children. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's physically abusing them, sexually abusing them, verbally abusing them. I do not know. I do know that he has his own child now with my ex-wife. And I do know that generally children who are raised in a family with a step-parent do not get treated as well as they do as the child who is actually the biological child of that parent. So I imagine that my children are not being treated as well as their younger half-sibling is. That's just a statistical fact. You can look it up yourself. You can do your own research. Maybe he treats my kids great. I have no idea. I do know that denying access to somebody's parents is a horrific form of abuse. Parental alienation is a horrific form of abuse. And both he and his wife, Mrs. Garcia, have been engaged in that activity for more than 2 years. And I've been powerless to stop it. I go to court again and again and again. I go to court every month. The case always gets continued. They always like, oh, we have paperwork. We didn't get the paperwork. Oh, we're going to have to continue it. Oh, we don't have time. Our schedule is so full. We don't have time. We're going to have to continue it. Continuous continuance. That's all you get at the family court in Hawaii. And it's actually better here than it was in San Diego. San Diego is horrendously corrupt. The judge we had who issued the restraining order against me based on Facebook memes that I did not create was actually a personal friend of the children's mother's father. They go to the same shooting range. So Judge Wood, I know all about it. I know all about your relationship with Matthew Garish. And you are a despicable character, broke your oath of office, and have been instrumental in the abuse of my 2 children for 2 years. So wear that on your soul, Judge Wood. And Matt Garish, you piece of human filth, you excrement. You disgust me beyond all measure. The fact that you've raised your 3 daughters in the manner that you have allowed your wife to act in the manner that she has, makes you not only not a man, but not even a reasonable hominid. I mean, you are just disgusting. That whole family is so disgusting. And it's proven out now. They won't allow me to see my children. They won't allow another friend of mine, Matt Herm, to see his child at all. My ex-wife's sister also is alienating her child from her ex-husband. It's like the same playbook. It's like, oh, look, it worked for me. Take the playbook, run with it, go try it. So, I mean, the whole family is just absolutely despicable. The fact that they would willfully and intentionally engage in abusing their own children in such a harsh and horrific manner for economic reasons, I assume they thought that I was going to go get a $200,000 a year job and start paying child support. Wrong. I will work minimum wage until I die. You will never get a penny out of me ever, especially now after 4 years of horrendous abuse in the form of parental alienation. You will never get a penny out of me, ever. Not 1 penny. Beyond whatever you've been able to extort from me, by filing paperwork quickly and having the state of California put liens on my paychecks, etc. All of that, I've been through all of that already. It's been 4 years, so I've been through the whole shebang at this point. It's going to continue too. Grace turns 18 in 2031, so we got plenty more time for that. You got 11 more years of these videos coming, unless you relent and allow the children to have a relationship with their father. I will continue to file in every court, in every state, in every nation, until I have 50-50 no contact custody. That's what I want. 50-50 custody where I have no contact with Mrs. Garcia. That is my goal. And I will relentlessly pursue that goal every hour of every day until 2031. So if you want to keep going with this, if you want to keep going to court, if you want to keep spending hundreds of dollars on these supervised visits, whatever the opposing party wants to do, they're welcome to do it. My path is clear. My conscience is clear. And I will continue to do the right thing for Everett and Grace. Period. There will be no relenting on my part, no hesitation, no stalling, no waiting. Nothing. I am going to do what I can to get 50-50, no contact, 50-50 custody with my children. Because the abuse that the three of us have been put through by these monsters who would do this to innocent children and an innocent ex-husband. I didn't cheat on her. Somebody was cheating on somebody, but it wasn't me. It was not me. I never broke any of the wedding vows, any of that. I mean, I was like, and believe me, I wanted to towards the end. I mean, towards the end, I understood what a fetid pile of garbage I was married to. I mean, believe me, I knew at that point, after 7 years, I was like, oh, this person has severe alcohol, drug abuse, mental issues, bipolar. I know they call it something else now, but whatever. I saw it all. I knew it all. And then I went and filed for divorce and gave them the ammo to hurt me and my children. So if you are a father who's about to get divorced, do not file for divorce. Stall the divorce. Don't sign the divorce. Anything you can. Get that 50-50 custody and then do the divorce. Get that 50-50 custody and then sign the papers. Get that 50-50 custody and then figure out the divorce situation. Because if you're doing it before you get the custody, you are going to be absolutely screwed. Absolutely screwed. I mean, it's 80% of custody cases are won by the mother. 80%. 10% are won by the dad, and the other 10% either go to grandparents or ward of the state, something. So this is my experience. I'm sharing it for alienated parents all over the country. I'm also sharing it for my own children so they can know what's going on in case somebody has me killed or whatever. I mean, we're at that point where it's like, I'm never going to give up or never going to stop. I'm never going to relent. So the other side should be aware of that at that point, and they may change strategies. What that strategy is, I don't know. But if that strategy ends up being harm to me, believe me, our kids are going to know. So careful what your next plan is, because whatever you do is only going to further hurt the relationship that you might or might not have with our children in the future. And Everett and Grace, if you decide to cut the relationship with your mom altogether after you find out all the truth about all of this, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you. But I would say try not to harbor hate in your heart, because the hate in your heart is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt her. So try not to harbor hate. You can't really forgive somebody who's done what she's done. So I'm not asking you to forgive her. But try not to harbor that hate in your heart. Try to understand that this is a person who is very, very damaged by the situation she grew up in, and had really, really terrible role models her entire life. Matt and Regina Garish are maybe the worst people I've ever met in my life. Literally, that's factual. Especially Regina Garish. She is one of the worst people I've ever met in my life. Just selfish and like self-centered and self-absorbed and like horrendously myopic. Super insecure, morbidly obese. I mean, she's just a terrible, terrible person with no redeeming qualities. And I think that her and, it's hard for me to decide who's worse, really, her or Matt, who's married to her and allows her to continue on in her like disgusting fashion. The stories that I know about the sexual proclivities of that couple, I don't even want to repeat them. I feel like I'm getting soiled by even repeating some of the stories I know. So I'm not gonna. But all three of those girls, Jennifer, Rhonda, and Mrs. Garcia, all witnessed that their whole lives. That's what they grew up with. And they don't know any better. They think that's normal. They think that's okay. They love their parents. They don't understand that they were put in a horrific situation where they were being, tragically and severely mentally abused, which they were. They don't understand that because they don't know, because that's all they knew. That's how they grew up. They think it's normal. They think it's funny. When having been in the family for a little while and being at family functions, holidays, stuff like that, and watching like what Regina would get up to. And then watching everybody else like laugh about it, like, oh, isn't that funny and cute? How like ridiculously self-absorbed and myopic and like lascivious she is. Isn't that hilarious? Like they would like kind of laugh it off, like they thought it was cute or something. It was a real disconnect between like, you know, basic ethics, basic human decency, morality, and like and reality. There was no connection between them at all. And I witnessed it with all of them, all 5 of them. So try not to harbor ill will towards those people, which is impossible for me at this point, and probably will be impossible for you once you know the whole story, which it's inevitable that you will. Everett and Grace. But just know that I don't think that any of these issues are genetic. I don't think your genetic makeup inclines you to be anything like Regina, Rhonda, Matt, Jenny, or Mrs. Garcia. I think that that genetically they're fine. I think that it's a history of familial abuse that's gone on probably for centuries, honestly, knowing what I know about that family at this point. So, you know, try not to harbor ill will or hate. Try not to be angry. Try to let it go if you can. I can't, because they're harming my children. But as my children and being the ones who were harmed, you might be able to let it go better than I can. It's really hard to forgive somebody for hurting your children. It's really, I think it's impossible. If somebody's really hurting your children, I think it's impossible to forgive them. Honestly, I don't think it's possible. But somebody who's harmed me, I can forgive. I can forgive and forget somebody who's harmed me. Honestly, I can. And even, you know, a few years ago, before all this parental alienation and all the visitation violations and the extreme harm and abuse I've seen my own children put through, I was so ready to forgive and forget. I was so excited about forgiving and forgetting. And in mid 2017, before the really bad custody battle started, I was like in this Zen moment where I'd like forgiven everything. It was like I'd really forgiven everything. I saw why they had instituted a pattern of abuse in their family and how it had come about, and I just felt really bad for all of them. And
yeah, it's weird. I just got all tired.
So for those of you who have been following the case, are interested in the outcome, want to know where it's at now, this is where we're at. We're entering into year 4 now, entering into year 2 here in Hawaii. And I'm still going to court every single month. I still have plenty of visitation ordered, all of which is being violated. Now it's being violated by Mrs. Garcia, being violated by state agencies, being violated by other supervisors. So, I don't really understand how I can go about alleviating that situation. So if you've got ideas on how I can hold some of these state agencies, other supervised monitors, opposing counsel, some of these other people, if I can hold them liable for the abuse my children have been through, I'd love to hear about it, because I mean they are involved at this point. All these order violations that have occurred, there's plenty of third parties who are also culpable for some of this violation at this point. And I've had it. It's 4 years. I've had it. So I'm ready to attack. I'm ready to go on the attack on anybody and everybody who's actively and intentionally harming my children, which is where I've been since 2011. I found out I was going to be a dad. So Everett, Grace, I love you guys. It was so great to see you guys. I can't wait to see you again. Everybody else, just if you got ideas, thoughts, feedback, anything, I'd love to hear it. If you have any idea why suddenly they adhered to the court orders for the first time in like 3 years last week, and they violated them again today. So, I mean, let's not get too excited. But if anybody has any idea why, I would love to hear that as well, because it was bizarre. When I got the call that I was actually going to get to see my kids and they weren't going to violate the orders, I was like, honestly, that was the closest I've had maybe as an adult to having a heart attack. I mean, I felt my heart go weird. I was like, whoa, I'm going to get to see my kids for the first time in 8 months. Suddenly, it was very surprising to me. a pleasant surprise, but I did almost go into cardiac arrest because I couldn't believe it. So anyway, that's what's happening with the case. All feedback welcome. Love you all, internet fam. Hope you're doing great. Masks are not efficacious. There's plenty of scientific studies now that are showing that the masks are actually make you more likely to catch a viral infection from a third party, not less likely. And that's all masks, although particularly the cloth masks if it's not like real N95 or whatever. So look up that science yourself, but the masks are not indicated at all. So just be aware of that. Scientifically, there are many studies now that have shown that the masks are not indicated, and the vaccines are still super toxic. So don't take the vaccine, whatever the vaccine is. Don't take the flu shot. Just don't take them. If you can get an heirloom, individually made vaccine by an actual scientist who actually cares, then maybe you should go ahead. But if it's this corporate garbage vaccine, GlaxoSmithKline, whatever, do not take it. I know we're all going through this COVID thing. It's ridiculous. All the local businesses are shut down, but Walmart's pumping. You can be packed like sardines in Walmart, but you can't go to a restaurant, can't go to a bar, can't play music. So anyway, hope you are all surviving and keeping your mental health during this crazy time. Love you all. Have a good one.